Hello YouTube, Dave here again. I just wanted to give a little bit, I guess, of a channel update before I get into the video that you're about to watch. You may have noticed that over the last little while, the amount of videos that have come out have sort of tapered down. In fact, it's been a while since the last video. I think it's been almost a week or over a week since the last time I put a video out. The last few months really have been kind of difficult. The pandemic and everything else has just sort of taken its toll. Physically, mentally, emotionally draining. And there's just been some stuff going on that it's just made it difficult to be able to focus on recording videos. It's been difficult to sit down and be able to read RPG books and be able to absorb the information. So it's just sort of been a bit trying, I guess, as far as that goes. So I do apologize for that. Things do seem to be turning around a little bit, like the progress is being made to get back to normalcy. I'm not going to go into, like I said, a lot of details because it is, deeply personal stuff. But just, stress and anxiety have been really, really rough the last little while. It's been a while since the last time I can remember being able to get to sleep before, 3, 4, sometimes 5, 6, 7, or even 8 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, so it's been rough, but like there seems to be light at the end of the tunnel now, which is good. So hopefully, by the new year, hopefully that'll change, and I'll be able to get back to making some videos. So I just wanted to sort of show some of the things that I look to be doing as soon as sort of I get the emotional strength, I guess, or the mental strength to be able to really focus on making videos again and reviewing products. So these are the first things that I want to do videos on. One of them here is the great Dalmudi. So this was a card game that was sent to me by Wizards of the Coast. It came in at the same time as the Tasha's Cauldron books, and I don't know much about it. I don't know if this is like a brand new game, or it says, classic card game, so it might be sort of a reskin. I'm hoping over the holiday season to get a chance to play a couple games of it and be able to do a review of it at that point. So that's something that's on the horizon. Another thing here is this book, The Adventurer's Guide to Theria. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that, but this was sent to me by the people over at Dungeons and Randomness to do a review for. If I recall correctly, they had successfully funded a Kickstarter, and they were hoping to get my review on it. And at the time that they reached out to me, I was, still able to, do these sorts of videos. So, I agreed, and they sent it in. I really do apologize to them for it not being as quick as I was hoping. Around the time, shortly after they sent it, around the time that I received it, is when things started to really kind of go off the rails. But this will probably be one of the first videos that I do. The Great Dalmudi game, it's a quick card game that shouldn't be too difficult once I get a few games in, but this will probably be the first review that I really get into. The other two things that I really want to talk about are Star Trek Adventures and the Alien RPGs. So I've had Star Trek Adventures for a while, and I tried recording a few videos for it, and they just didn't turn out the way that I would have liked. So I kind of ended up scrapping them, deleting them, and never ended up releasing them. The Alien RPG I haven't tried making a video on yet, but it's one that I really want to. It's a great system. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to hopefully run some games of. And yeah, Free League did a great job with it. So these are sort of the things that are on the list. So again, to anyone, anyone watching, anyone that's sent things or anything along those lines, I apologize. It's just I'd rather take the time to make a video that I'd be happy with than push one out when I know it's not going to be the best. Not that I'm a great video maker or anything. I'm very, much an amateur, but I want to be able to give it, my full focus and attention, which is something that I haven't really been able to do with much of anything. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of let you guys know that. I was just trying to figure out something I can do to try to have something come out, and I was going to start doing some viewer question videos because those are pretty simple and straightforward. And for a while now, I've been floating around the idea of doing like an FAQ type of thing, or respond to some like questions about the channel and stuff like that that I've tried recording a couple of times and always felt like I didn't deserve to do one of those videos. It always felt like I was, by doing it, it was me being full of myself, which I hope that doesn't come across that way, but it was sort of always the fear in the back of my mind. So a couple of times I had recorded them and then again deleted the videos and everything. But I think for this, I think it's time to finally do that. So anyway, that's the video that you're about to watch, but I just wanted to give you sort of this update beforehand. So thank you everyone for your understanding, your support. For people that have tried to reach me to review things in the last like month and a half to 2 months, I apologize. I just, again, haven't really had the energy to even really check emails or messages or stuff like that. So it's yeah, it's been rough, but it's getting better. So with that in mind, again, thank you everyone for your understanding, and I guess next will be just sort of a fun, hopefully fun FAQ video. So thanks again. Hello YouTube, Dave here again. So today's video is going to be, I guess, what you could call an FAQ video, or a Q&A video was probably a better term for it. This is a video that I've tried to make a few times before and just never felt comfortable actually publishing it, so I'd always delete the video. But you know what? It's been a rough year, and it's been difficult to focus on the things that I've wanted to focus on. So what the heck, let's just sort of do this and finally put it out. I was always worried that it might make me sound like I'm full of myself or conceited, and I hope that's not the way that this comes across, because it's certainly not the way that I feel, and that's actually the reason why I've tried doing this video like 4 times over the years and never actually pulled the trigger on it. I've recorded them, but then just like, nope, delete it forever, sort of thing. So let's just have some fun with it, I guess, today. So the first question, the question is going to revolve mainly around like my YouTube channel or YouTube experience, but I might talk a little bit about collecting stuff. I used to have a list that I had in order that I no longer have because I tossed it when I scrapped the last time I was trying to record this video, and my printer doesn't work anymore, and I don't have room to set up my laptop. So screw it, we're just gonna do it off the cuff sort of thing, but I remember most of the questions on there anyway. So the first one is what caused me to start my YouTube channel? And so the answer to that is, I think I've talked about this before, but I'll put it in this video so it can sort of be like the go-to. So I had spent many years running regular, Sunday night D&D games for years and years, or regular weekend D&D games, or Monday, evening D&D games for a very long time in the town that I grew up in. And I had my close circle of friends that I could pretty much guarantee that every single day of the week, I'd be able to talk to at least one of them. Like, they'd either pop in while I was at work, or they'd visit while I was at home after work, or on Saturday, or actually, no, I work Saturdays, but on my days off, sort of thing. So I spent a lot of time, just being able to talk casually about gaming. Upcoming RPG books or mechanics, or, prestige classes, or just all these different things, whatever we wanted to talk about gaming related. I was able to do that like every single day of the week, reliably for a very long time. So When I moved away from that town to be with my fiance, I suddenly was living in a place where I didn't have anyone to talk about this stuff with. I came from like the generation where it was still sort of faux pas to openly discuss with just anyone your love of tabletop gaming. There was still sort of that stigma attached to it. So for a couple of years, I just didn't have anything that I could do, and it was kind of depressing. It's something that I really missed. Tabletop RPGs have been very important to me throughout my life, and I owe a lot to them. So my fiance actually convinced me to start up a YouTube channel as a way of being able to talk about these things, because it's not her interest, which is fine. I don't share her interests, for a lot of things either. It's okay to have differing things that you're into. Um, so she convinced me to do it. So without her, this never would have happened. I had always thought about doing like a YouTube channel, but I didn't have the equipment for it, and I didn't have the knowledge on how to do it. She had a channel at the time that she no longer has. She deactivated it quite a long time ago. But so she was very instrumental in helping me early on. She gave me the camera to use. She would edit the videos early on. She did the animated intro that you saw at the beginning of this video, all herself. Without her, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And again, it was just a very sort of depressing time. So, the channel is my way of being able to talk about things that I used to talk about with my friends on a regular basis that suddenly I was almost completely cut off of. Back then, things like Skype, it was around, but Skype is always sort of iffy to begin with, and we didn't have things like Zoom or FaceTime or any of that stuff. So it wasn't quite as easy to be able to talk to people, and work schedules and everything also made it difficult. So that's why I made the channel, which is also why when I do my videos, I try to talk about whatever it is that I'm doing the video on as much as I can. So for everyone who complains that my videos are long or that I should only, spend like 5 minutes talking about something, if that's what you want, then search for those videos, because for me, this is my outlet to talk about these sorts of things that mean a lot to me, and conversations that I deeply missed. And when I do videos, for the most part, generally speaking, I know that I probably won't get much of an opportunity to ever have that conversation again. So I try to get as much out as I possibly can. Another question is, do I use scripted videos or not? So the answer currently is I do not. I have in the past, but I never really felt comfortable using scripts. The only videos that I did scripts for that I felt it was, direly important to do were my retrospectives of things like OD&D and the first and second edition AD&D systems, and stuff like that. I always thought was very important to have a script for, because that was more of like a retrospective, trying to be informative, hopefully at least a little bit. Before I, got to the systems that I had a lot of personal experience with. So when I got to those ones, I still scripted the videos, but I didn't script them as completely as I did with the other ones. I also found that trying to read off a script just never felt the same, like in terms of how the information came across. And it's really easy to lose your place, especially back then. I wasn't comfortable with like editing at all. So like trying to cut things out of a video, or do like a take and then put in a part of the video that is better than the original thing. And so everything was one take at the time. So there were times where it would take like hours to record a 20-minute video, because I kept messing up the line. I kept losing my place on the script, or wasn't happy with the way that I read it. So nowadays I don't do that. I've done like point form stuff before as well. We'll just have like bullet points on a piece of paper that will sit next to me. I don't do that too often anymore. Generally speaking, I will spend like some time during the day, if I have some downtime, where I just think about how I want to word things before recording the video. And I found that that's what's most effective. But I want to, like I said, I want to talk about these the way that I would with someone, face to face. So that's why I do the videos in the style that I do. So for those that don't like that or think that I should, do it in shorter and just, like more concise, that's not why I made the channel. So, I'm sorry that that's not, what you're looking for, but, I made this channel for me. And, the fact that other people seem to get anything out of it is amazing, and probably undeserved, but, I still want to sort of take it with that philosophy of, I do this for me because it's my chance to actually, discuss these things, that I, used to have those conversations I took for granted until they no longer were there. So that's that. So another question that I've had is, what are some of my favorite experiences on YouTube and what are some of my least favorite experiences on YouTube? So I'll start with the least favorite because I always like to try to end a section or segment on a more positive spin. So with any community, any fandom, it's always going to be a mixed bag. And the tabletop RPG community, online community is, can be some of the greatest people in the world, some of the most welcoming and understanding. But like with any fandom, there's always going to be that small percentage that are just really difficult or condescending or feel that they have sort of a sense of entitlement. So I've had experiences with individuals, for example, like leaving messages or messaging me on Facebook or commenting on Facebook or commenting on my videos. If I ever said something about an edition that they didn't like, for example, then I would have, some people really come out of the woodworks to let me know how wrong I was, even though I was giving my personal opinion based on my personal experiences. And apparently, my personal experiences are incorrect to a lot of people. So just conversations like that or comments like that in general have been sort of frustrating. It's okay to have differing opinions, don't get me wrong, but you can always express those in such a way that you're not being kind of a jerk about it, right? And I was always brought up to talk to people the way that I would want them to talk to me, and that doesn't change just because I'm sitting behind a keyboard. Unlike some people, that the anonymity makes it so that they, will play out their, desires to make, to bring other people down or, to sort of assert their superiority sort of thing. So I've had a few of those experiences, nothing too bad, for lately. So, which is good. But I've had some of those. I had one experience with someone who, I've had people in the past say, oh, well, you shouldn't just talk about D&D, you should talk about other RPGs. And then when I started branching out into other RPGs, they would get upset because they weren't the ones that they personally wanted me to talk about. But, I'm not going to buy or collect RPGs that I'm not personally interested in. So, again, it's just sort of weird. Sometimes you have people that feel that they have a sense of ownership over what you do, even though, they don't, right? So that's sort of been frustrating on occasions. I'm not going to get into specifics there. I did have one individual, and again, I'm not going to name names. I think they deleted all their comments too, which shows you how strong their convictions are. But they were upset with me because I was getting review copies of like D&D books and stuff. And if a book came out with multiple covers, like the store exclusive cover, I would get that in the package. And I never asked for them to send, both copies. It's just, a standard thing that they make up and they send out. And this person was very insistent that I was required by Wizards of the Coast or by any company to do giveaways and not, keep the products, which was never discussed. Like they had never mentioned anything about that. They never gave me any directions on what to do with it. And I've seen other YouTubers, bigger YouTubers, not necessarily focused on tabletop RPGs, but I've seen people in the past get the same press kits that I've gotten, and they'll show it in like a pickups video but then they never do a review. Like that's the only time they ever show it. And it's like, you know, if that's okay and they keep getting stuff, you know, I mean, I'm actually doing the reviews as much as I can. But he was very insistent and, telling me that that's how I have to do things. So I just like, well, let me settle this because, you know, I talk regularly, or not regularly, but I have the ability to contact, you know, a PR representative. And I did, the person that I usually deal with. And they were like, no, 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 you don't have to do that. Um, you know, we send both covers so that you can show what they look like, so people can see what they actually look like side by side and from different angles, and you know, not like the image that you would see on the website sort of thing, so they can actually see what the physical product looks like when it's all said and done. But they're like, whatever you want to do with it after that is entirely your choice. We would never ask you to do any of that. And shipping prices in Canada are expensive. This individual thought that because they had a business in the US, that they shipped things into Canada, that it was cheap for them, so it should be cheap for me. The what I'll say is like I've seen things on eBay, for example, in the U.S. where the U.S. eBay shipping price is like $6, and the same listing on eBay.ca, that price goes up to sometimes $30 or more, which is why I don't buy stuff off of eBay, because for the most part, the shipping is more expensive than the item that I'm buying, and it just doesn't seem right to me. I shipped one thing down to the US a little while ago, and it was a $30 product that cost nearly $40 to ship, and that was with the cheapest shipping method that provided a tracking number. So yeah, but that was sort of a frustrating exchange, I have to admit. And other things is, back in the day, there was a period where I would do videos in front of the camera, where I would actually talk into the camera, and that took a lot for me to do. And there were people that, instead of commenting on the subject of the video, would take advantage of the opportunity to be condescending or insulting about my personal appearance. Now, I've struggled with self-image issues my entire life. So to actually do the videos in front of the camera in the first place was a big step. Like, it was a major thing that it took me a while to be able to do, and to have people decide that, it's fun for them to insult someone's physical appearance, instead of actually, listening to the video that they put a lot of time and effort into. It was really deflating, and it almost led to me quitting YouTube at one point. And from that point forward, I don't appear on camera. The only exception to that are some live gameplay videos over on Master the Game channel, where I'm in front of the camera. But in terms of regular channel, I don't think I'd ever feel comfortable doing that again. So, it's just one of those things that I struggled with that my entire life. And I don't need that kind of nonsense from people online. So those are some of the negative experiences. Now, for positive experiences, I have met some amazing people through having this YouTube channel. I mentioned Master the Game before, and even though I haven't had a lot of interaction with him until sort of recently, I really enjoy talking to him. Juice is a great guy. Bill from Roll Stats, he's another person that I'm really grateful to have met through YouTube. John from, it was Blue Dragon RPG, but they recently sort of rebranded the channel to, I think it's John and Ava in Space, I think is what they call it, so they can, branch out and talk about other things, which is awesome, and I'm really happy for them, and I'm glad to see them back. But yeah, just meeting people like that has been fantastic. Nate from WASD20, another, really, great, stand-up guy. I haven't really talked to him a lot, like in terms of commenting or stuff like that lately, but he is a really genuinely nice person. There were some other like YouTubers that, they don't really make videos anymore. But there's just been a lot of really great people that I've met, and just people through like the comments section. I've had a lot of really great conversations or back and forths with people in the comment section, including like people that have disagreed with my opinions, but were civil, because, believe it or not, you can be civil on the internet. So it was really, those were really great experiences, and getting to sort of have even just, slight conversations or back and forths with some professional contacts has also been really cool. So, yeah, from that perspective, it's been really great. And, for any of the negative experiences, there's been like one negative experience to like 20 positive experiences. So, it's not that YouTube has been nothing but horrible. Sometimes, when you have a personality like mine, you focus on the negative more because you expect the negative reaction, and you sort of expect or feel the worst from yourself. So that's why that stuff has been sort of more impactful. But at the same time, I've met a lot of amazing people, and through having this channel that I never would have otherwise. And my life is way better off for having them in it, even if it's just on the periphery, than not, right? So it's been really amazing from that perspective. So another question that I've had is, do you plan on, like, are you open to collaborating, like collaboration videos? With the exception of like gameplay sessions, right now the answer to that I think is no. It goes back to like the not wanting to be in front of the camera thing. In fact, that almost led to me not participating in the games over on Master the Game over on Juice's channel, just because I was so anxious about that. And I missed session zero of both of those groups, and there was stuff going on, but the nerves and the concerns sort of fed into that, so it didn't help, I guess. So for other things, I don't have the best setup. I don't have the best technology. I don't have the best editing skills. I'm not good at like sending video files over the internet sort of thing. So right now, sort of doing collaboration videos just doesn't seem like something that I'd be uh, just capable of to the standards that other channels would be able to do it. So unfortunately, right now, the answer to that is sort of no. But I have at least started doing gameplay videos over on another channel, a fantastic channel, by the way. So check out Master the Game if you haven't already. They do a lot of awesome stuff there. And the two groups that I'm in, the Keep on the Borderlands, Rule Cyclopedia, and the Fall of Plaguestone groups are amazing, despite having me in them. So they're a lot of fun, and you guys should go check out those videos, because yeah, I'm definitely the weak link in both groups, but they are excellent groups, like I said, despite having me in them. So yeah, so I guess there's that. So another question that I've had people ask is, when it comes to getting review copies of things, like what was the process that I went through? How did I get in contact with the companies? Was there pushback? How persistent was I in sending the things off? And there's some other things along those lines that I'll touch on in a second as well. So the decision to reach out to the companies, because I reached out to them, but the decision to do that was based off the fact that I had to move again, and we were moving to a place where, from a financial point of view, one of us had to be a stay-at-home parent, and it wasn't going to be the person that we were moving for because she got her dream job. It was going to be the person that had previously been the breadwinner, I guess you could say. So knowing that I wasn't going to have an income, the jobs in this area, the times don't line up with when transportation's available, or the end time wouldn't be conducive to when our daughter would get off of school. Because when we first moved here, she was going into grade 3, and there was no way that she'd be able to be on her own. Even walking on her own, I didn't, wasn't comfortable with that. So I always had to be home by the time that school got out, and just all the jobs were either in the evening before a point in time in which we could guarantee that the missus would be home, or they would end at the same time that school got out, but it would probably take me an hour on the bus to get back home. So knowing that I wasn't going to have an income, I just I searched on the websites for like Paizo and Wizards of the Coast, found their media inquiry section and just sent off an email just asking what their guidelines were. It wasn't necessarily asking for review copies at that point. I was just curious what their requirements were. And I heard back from Paizo first, and sort of, I guess the rest is history there. With Wizards of the Coast, it was a little bit more subtle. I just started getting these emails for upcoming releases of things. And I just sort of I was curious because I never signed up for a newsletter, and these weren't coming from Wizards of the Coast per se. They were coming directly from the PR firm that Wizards of the Coast was using. So eventually I just said, do you guys do review copies of these? And they said, absolutely. What's your address? And we'll send it off to you. So that was how I did it. If you're interested, or if you have a channel or a blog or something, anything that you're doing where you have an audience of people and you wanted to reach out to these companies, that's the way that I would recommend doing it. That's how I did it anyway. I've had people ask me directly for that contact information, and I don't feel comfortable giving that out. But again, you can usually find it on their websites. You just have to dig through it a little bit in their contact information. So that's how I did that. Another question that I had when it comes to getting review copies is, why would companies send stuff to me? And that's the nice way of phrasing it. The person that had asked that question was actually really kind of a condescending jerk about it, saying that, what's the value in sending it to someone with such a small subscriber base, sort of thing. So this is speculative. I can't say for sure that this is the answer that the companies would consider. But for me, I suspect a lot of these companies understand the value of word of mouth marketing, advertising, so to speak. Sending a review copy of a book to a YouTuber or a website or like a blogger, even sending 100 of those books out, at the end of the day, I would have to imagine would be cheaper than, a marketing campaign for advertisements, buying ad space on websites, on YouTube, for example, doing video, advertisements. That stuff gets really expensive, tens of thousands of dollars or more to do a 30-second ad. A 30-second ad, which by the way is usually skippable about 5 seconds in, or will be completely missed, including banner ads and other things, if you have an ad blocker on, which a lot of people do. So I think they realize that there is value in sending things out to these individuals who will get the word out to people. And even if your review video gets 100 views, generally they get more than that. But let's just say that you get a new RPG book out and you get 100 views on the video. Let's just say out of those 100 people that watch the video, 10 of them decide that, I want to pick this up after watching the video. They've sold 10 copies that they may otherwise not have. So, they still, at the end of the day, for sending out that one review copy, they're still making money, even if the returns aren't millions of people buying the products. They still get a decent amount of conversion. And I've had people, say in many of the comments that, they appreciated the review video, and because of seeing what's in the book and hearing my thoughts on it, that they decided to purchase the product. So it's something that is still helping, build the company, and sending out a book that they're sending out at their cost versus, a multi, tens of thousands of dollars on ads is ultimately going to be cheaper. So I think that's why they do that. And again, word of mouth is a very powerful tool for getting your product information across. And, there's a lot of, especially when it comes to YouTube, I think in particular, now, and, not to say that blogs don't have this as well, but with video reviews, I feel that the audience in general feels a greater sense of connection and a deeper sense of trust with the person providing the review than they might if they just saw a 30-second skippable ad on YouTube. So, those are sort of, again, my suspicions. I don't know that for sure. I don't know what the actual numbers are, so I could be way off. I don't think that I am. Again, companies usually have deals with, courier companies, or, with like the USPS, having like preferred rates, stuff like that. So, I'm sure, like I said, it's something that's cost effective, and, they're getting those products out to an individual that will have an audience of people that they can get the message directly to. So I think that's my opinion on why, companies will send stuff out. Like, do I deserve it? I probably don't. If I can be honest, I probably don't deserve to have these things sent to me, but the companies are willing to do that, and they find that, there's a reason to do that, and it means a lot to me. It really does. So, if they're willing to do that, then, I'm willing to help them out, by showcasing the item. Now, before I get to like the next part of that statement, I also want to address one thing when it comes to, this individual's criticism, being that my subscriber count was too low, that they didn't think I deserved to have these things sent. Generally speaking, and I've seen other YouTube channels talk about this a lot lately, generally speaking, the vast majority of your YouTube views, your channel views, are going to come from people that aren't actually subscribed to you. I've checked my analytics. I've seen other people on other channels post their analytics, and it seems like it's almost consistently, between 30 to 40% of your views come from actual subscribers. And like 60 to 70% of your views, or sometimes more, will come from people that are not subscribed. There could be a lot of reasons for that. Like for me, I watch a lot of YouTube. When I watch YouTube, I watch it mainly on my Nintendo Switch, docked and on the TV. So when I do that, there's no easy way to just click subscribe to a channel, even if I watch their videos regularly. You have to go through, like, you have to, go down through like the recommendations and further recommendations, and then, hope that they actually have, uploads from whatever the channel is. But sometimes they just don't, meaning that there's no way for me to do that. And the account that I watch YouTube on, generally speaking, is my personal account in my proper name, versus the YouTube channel account that I have that I release videos on. It's just like on my laptop, I deal with like this YouTube channel, and when I watch it on like the Switch, it's my personal account, that, again, I just don't have an easy way to access. So, and I'm sure pretty much all of us have, at least one channel that we watch on a semi-regular basis, but aren't subscribed to. So, if 70% of your views come from non-subscribers, your subscriber number doesn't really accurately depict, how many people are watching your videos. And to that individual who left that condescending comment, I checked their profile. They weren't subscribed to me, but they were watching, a video, and so they found that, like, that video found their way to them, whether they, appreciated it or not. They weren't a subscriber, and they still saw the video, which should have answered that question to begin with, because it got to them regardless. But anyway, there's that. Another question that I've had is, when it comes to doing reviews, how can I give objective reviews if the companies are sending me things? And, does that mean that if they send me something, I will be inclined to give it a positive review, even if I don't feel that way? And I know maybe not so much when it comes to tabletop RPG YouTube channels, or websites or things like that. But I know, like, when it comes to things like video game, journalism, or video game reviews and journalism, there is a lot of individuals who, sort of will do that. They will give perfect scores to something because they want the company to keep sending them stuff. I'm not like that. I would never, like, I've had people offer to pay me for videos, and I've always turned down the payment, and just said, like, if you want me to review the product, I'll review the product, but, I don't accept payment for it, and, I'm going to give it my genuine thoughts. With Paizo, they actually, insist that I do that. And they said, if you ever see something that you don't like, or you think could be improved, or you have an issue with, please put it in the video. And to date, I really haven't had an experience like that with them. So if I do, when I do, then I will do that. But when it comes to, like, say, for example, 5th edition stuff, I've given honest reviews of things, even if it didn't necessarily mean, hey, you should go out and get this because it's the most amazing thing ever. For example, Waterdeep Dragon Heist, I gave my honest opinions on that, for sure. And they didn't send that to me, but I was getting stuff, I think, around that time. So, it was something where, if they were upset with that, then, they didn't say anything and they still keep sending me things. So, there's that. Generally speaking, most companies will stand behind their products and are willing to accept, genuine feedback. I don't do like angry reviews. There's too much negativity on the internet to begin with. I will give honest reviews, and there are certain things that, I have mixed feelings on, and I'll say that in the video. Like the Explorer's Guide to Wildemont, however you pronounce that one. Again, it was a mixed bag. There were things that I liked about the book, and there were things that I thought were missing or that the book would have benefited from having in there. And I made that point in the video. Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It's a book that I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy, but there were certain things that I wasn't a huge fan of, or that I felt the need to point out. For example, like some of the reprinted subclasses. I thought it was important that I mentioned, even if I wasn't 100% sure at the time, that there was a strong possibility that some of the things were reprinted from other books. And, but I gave my opinion as to why I thought they did that. But there were things that I just wasn't a big fan of, like the psionic classes, how psionics were handled in that product. So I made the point clear. At the end of the day, there were things that I liked in the book and there were things that I didn't, but it was an honest review. And, I haven't had anything from them saying that they're, terminating their relationship with me. So, there's that. I will always give my honest opinion. Whether you accept that or not, that's really not my problem. I've always done my reviews the same way. I always try to put a positive spin on things, even if, there are certain things that I might have an issue with, just because, again, there's a lot of negativity already on the internet. So I try to break away from that. When I get a review item, my reviews are genuine. They're not, I won't force a positive review out of something just because it was sent to me. And if a company decides that they're no longer going to send stuff to me because I gave an honest review, then I probably don't want to deal with them anyway. So, there's always that. All right, so for some other gaming related questions, so this is not going to necessarily do with the YouTube channel or anything like that. These are just more questions that are like in general stuff. So I've had people ask, for example, well, I guess this is sort of a YouTube channel, but the question is like, will you review this RPG or that RPG? In general, like I'm out of space for things as it is now. If it's something that I'm not personally excited about or interested in, I'm not really going to get into it. Even if it's something that might be popular or people might be really, high on, it's just not. If I'm not interested in it, I'm not gonna pursue it. For example, not for example, but like some of the things that I am interested in and do want to get more into and learn more about are like the Star Trek Adventures RPG. The Alien role-playing game I'm really enjoying. So those are things that, I might try to get at least some stuff for. But there's a ton of RPGs out there. I've had people ask me about like OSR stuff, and there's so many excellent OSR channels already out there that I just really couldn't compete with that, and I just don't have the room for that. Some of the OSR stuff based off like Zero Edition D&D, for example, I have no personal frame of reference for, so it would be lost on me anyway. And there's just so many other people out there that already do a better job of those anyway. So again, there are just certain things that if I'm not personally like super excited about or on board about, I won't be able to do. I just don't have the room for stuff anymore. I need some new bookshelves that might alleviate the problem, but for now, I just want to focus on the things that I'm actually interested in, which was the whole point of this channel in the first place. So there's that. I've had someone ask, like, what if I could only play one RPG now, like from now until the rest of my life, out of my current collection, what would it be? And that's a tough question because I enjoy the things that I have are things that I like, and so it is a tough question. Right now, the answer would probably be Pathfinder Second Edition, as I'm really enjoying that rule set, that gameplay style. I like the customization options for ancestries and classes, and just the way that that stuff is structured. So that's the one I'd probably choose now. But that always changes. Like there might be a time where the answer is probably like Call of Cthulhu. There might be a point in time where my answer to that would be the Alien RPG. There's times where it's going to be D&D Fifth Edition or D&D Basic Expert or AD&D First or Second Edition. It's a really tough question to answer. The answer will change. Like there was a point where it was D&D. There was a point where it was Starfinder. Right now, it's Pathfinder 2E is the one that I would, if that was the only one I could ever play again, then that's, the one I guess I would go with right now. But, they're all, I love them all. And realistically, I never actually have to make that decision. And I don't think anyone should ever have to make that decision. So yeah, but right now that's what it would be. But that answer is definitely subject to change. Another question that I've had people ask is if I think, if you get into something like, say, Dungeons and Dragons, do I think that younger players, newer players now should have to try like Basic Expert or AD&D or the older versions to, really consider themselves to be true fans of the game? Like as much as I like older editions and as much as I enjoy playing or running older editions, I don't think you should ever have to do something to prove that you are, a fan of whatever game system that you're currently enjoying. Most people eventually, especially if you're playing with sort of a mixed group of people that are new and people that have, played stuff for a while, like veteran gamers, I think there's always just going to be a natural curiosity. If you keep hearing people talk about, back in the day, like Basic Expert, Second Edition AD&D, or First Edition, like with the attack matrices or THAC0, or rolling hit points at first level, or like never gaining hit dice after like ninth level, there's just always going to be sort of a curiosity. I think that a fair percentage of people are going to just want to naturally explore on their own. And with services like DM's Guild with their print on demand options, or well, Drive Through RPG, I always order through DM's Guild, their website. But yeah, there's it's easier now for people to be able to access those older systems, which is awesome. But at the same time, I would never say, if someone's really enthusiastic about D&D Fifth Edition, I would never say, you're not a true D&D player until you've played, Edition X. I think you should always, make the decisions that, for yourself. And again, I think a lot of people will be naturally drawn to older editions. I've run a game of First Edition AD&D for a group that was largely made up of people that started with like 3.5 or even with like fourth or fifth edition. And just, when I asked, they were like, you know what, sure, I'd love to try it, and go from there. But I would never say you have to do it. If you're interested, that's great. And here's a place you can go to check out to get those rule sets at a decent price. And if you are someone that is new and wants to go back, I would recommend going through Drive Through RPG or DM's Guild, because trying to get like a first edition AD&D player's handbook can be expensive. To get a rule cyclopedia can be ridiculously expensive. To get the box sets are insanely expensive, but most of the core rule books for the older editions are available print on demand. So I would steer you there, but I would never force you to do it if you wanted to be a true fan. So I guess there's that. So yeah, another question that I've had sort of comes down to collections. One of the questions that I've had is, how did I start building my RPG collection? What was the driving force behind it? So for me, it wasn't something that I started off with, from the very beginning. For the first couple of years, actually, first 2, 3 years that I was into tabletop RPGs, I just had like the core books. And actually, for second edition AD&D, for like 2 years, I only had a player's handbook and a dungeon master's guide. I didn't even have a monstrous manual. So, I wasn't really into collecting then. But as I had more income and I, found a local game store that I could sort of hang out in and talk to people at, or talk to people, in the store about stuff, getting into like Dungeon Magazine and Dragon Magazine, eventually it's like, you know what? This is the thing I think I want to collect. People like to collect things. It's sort of a human nature thing. Some people collect like ceramic, figurines or, dolls or post stamps or sports cards. And I wanted to have a collection of something that I felt I could make practical use out of. And RPG books felt like the thing. What really started it for me was the announcement of 3.5, Dungeons and Dragons, because there were some 3.0 books that I was interested in, but hadn't currently gotten around to picking up. And with the announcement of 3.5, I knew it was just a matter of time before they became out of print and were just going to be impossible to find or would be ridiculously expensive and I'd have to go on eBay and pay ridiculously inflated prices for. So I decided that, I went back and it's like, okay, every 2 weeks there was another older book or one or two older books that I would get my local game store to order in for me. And as I started to fill out my very first bookshelf, like shelf on a bookshelf, with my D&D books, it just like I started to really enjoy having that collection, and it sort of went from there. But I always made it a point to never spend outside of my means, and to never purchase any single item for more than $100. So I set a very hard limit on what I would buy. It has meant that a lot of like some of the cooler D&D minis that have come out lately, like the Elder Brain, or there was like the old school Monster Manual set. Those prices would be over $100, taxes in. So I just would not. I don't buy them for that reason, right? I set that limit for myself, and I've stuck to it over all these years. In terms of collecting, started in 2003. So yeah, so over 17 years of collecting, I've never spent more than $100 on a single individual item. I've come close a couple of times. My gargantuan or colossal red dragon was 90. The Shackled City hardcover book was close to $90, taxes in, but I've never gone over 100. So yeah, I've mentioned that in videos before. Have a budget, set a limit for yourself, and try to stick to it. So so that's sort of how that started. I've had people ask, like, what are some of the things that you regret not buying or not picking up? And, are you trying to get them now? Back in the day with 3.5, there was the basic game for like the 2006 version, which had like the Blue Dragon. I never bought that because I already had a Blue Dragon mini, and I already had the 2004 basic game, and I just didn't feel the need to double up on that. There was also the Player's Kit, which is a box set that had a softcover player's handbook and some other things. And I never bothered to get that either, and I kind of regret that. I kind of wish that I would have picked those things up, looking back. But they're box sets and they're just ridiculously expensive to try to get nowadays, so I probably never will get them unless like my local game store gets them traded in and they sell them at an affordable price. But for me, I just would never want to spend more than like $30 on those, so I probably will never get those. Other than that, there was like the player strategy guide for 4th edition D&D that I kind of wish I had picked up, but I didn't. However, I have ordered that through DM's Guild, the print-on-demand version. I'm just waiting for it to arrive in the mail, which it's been over 9 weeks now, so if I don't get it by the end of this week, I'll have to file a missing thing, because the delivery time frame was 3 to 6 weeks, and add an extra 2 to 3 weeks for COVID. So we're at that point now. We'll see what happens. But that was one that I also kind of regretted not getting, but I've been able to correct that now. So yeah, but other than that, there's not really anything that I regret passing up on. I've had people ask me what some of my collecting goals are going forward, and there's not much. I would love to get an expert, like a Moldvay Cook expert rule set, like the box set. I have the rule book and I have a copy of Isle of Dread, so if I never find the box set, that's fine. I'm not going to go out of my way to search for it. But that would be kind of cool to have. Other than that, it's mostly just continuing some RPGs that I just recently got into. There's some Call of Cthulhu stuff I would like to get at some point. They're like the Alien RPG I just started getting into. They have a new book coming out next year for the Colonial Marines, and I want to get that. The Star Trek RPG, Star Trek Adventures. There's some books for that I'd like to get, and maybe like a Game Master screen for that one. So it's mostly just sort of, getting some of the newer stuff now. There's not a lot of older stuff that I want to go back and get, which is good. So yeah, I think that's about it for now. I can't think of anything else that was on that sheet, so hopefully this video wasn't too self-indulgent. If it is, I really do apologize. It's not how I wanted to get this across. But they're just some things that I've had people ask me or comments that I've seen on some videos, so I wanted to try to at least address some of those. And yeah, so it was kind of nice to just do this video. There's been a lot going on lately. That's made it difficult to get videos out the way that I would like to. So this hopefully is a step in the right direction, and hopefully I can sort of jump back in the saddle and get back to doing videos. So anyway, thank you every single one of you who takes time out of your day to watch this pointless, rambling, self-indulgent video. It really does mean a lot to me. Your support, it makes a huge difference, let me tell you. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching and for your questions and, your comments over the years. Like I said, it really means a lot. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. We'll see, I guess. Anyway, thanks again. Until next time, take care.